The night the sirens slashed through Miami's sticky air hip-hop's party king finally looked mortal. Red and blue flashes ricocheted across Sean Diddy Combs' palatial estate, painting marble columns in panic colors, while agents in Kevlar hurried past toppled champagne flutes. Inside closets snapped open and secrets spilled duffel bags crammed with prescription bottles. A half-disassembled rifle glittering under chandelier light, and stacks of hard drives that hummed like dormant hornets. For years, Diddy's legend felt bulletproof, multi-platinum hits, billion-dollar vodka, deals black tie philanthropy, and the swag to spin any scandal into marketing gold. Every misstep became a meme, every lawsuit a footnote to another comeback tour. But on this suffocating spring night, the comeback narrative snapped. Outside his gates, the scene didn't look like publicity. It looked like the first domino in a long overdue reckoning. News choppers hovered, bloggers live streamed, and somewhere in New York, crisis PR teams woke up to a nightmare on loudspeaker. Yet the real shock wasn't what federal agents found under Diddy's roof. It was the whispered question echoing through studio corridors. Who else knew empires as vast as Combs's are never built alone, and the ledgers of loyalty run deep? Within hours, rumors thick as Miami humidity drifted through encrypted chats. Rumors that he might talk, might trade tales for time, might hand prosecutors the keys to an even bigger kingdom. At the top of every speculative list sat the name Sean Carter. So as helicopter lights sliced the tropical night, two dynasties hung in the balance. The party was over. The autopsy of an era was about to begin. Picture a throne room lined with platinum plaques and designer sneakers, then imagine federal agents tiptoeing across that polished floor, photographing everything. The indictment, unsealed the next morning, read like a sordid mixtape: sex trafficking, racketeering, coercion, across state lines, drug distribution, obstruction. Prosecutors allege Diddy's famed freak-offs weren't wild consensual soirees, but precision-engineered traps where liquor, pills, and cameras turned pleasure into power. Witnesses describe assistants stockpiling baby oil beside luxury 4E drips so guests could recover before sunrise. Others swear a hidden control room captured every angle in 4K. The chilling implication: blackmail footage archived as insurance should friendships sour or competitors grow bold. That single rumor sent shockwaves through Hollywood. Overnight, publicists purged party photos, lawyers drafted just-in-case statements, and anyone who'd shared a VIP couch with Combs suddenly remembered an urgent confidentiality clause. More than 120 accusers, dancers, interns, former producers now claim variations of the same nightmare. Their timelines stretch from Clinton-era New York to pandemic-era Los Angeles, binding decades of whispers into something prosecutors call a pattern of enterprise abuse. That phrase transforms tabloid gossip into RICO territory, a world where minimum sentences start in decades, and the only escape hatch is cooperation. Diddy's net worth cratered in a weak vodka. Partners froze, payouts, TV projects evaporated, and a long-planned biopic vanished from studio slates. A mogul faced with losing everything suddenly had a single bargaining chip left: information. And that's when rumor of a secret windowless meeting began racing across the internet. Because the empires at risk weren't just his. They included the man who had shared boardrooms, brunches, and billion-dollar aspirations with him, Sean Jay-Z Carter. But before loyalty could morph into leverage, the code of silence had to crack, and the next name Diddy allegedly dropped could redraw the music industry's power map. If a megastar's collapse makes headlines, a megastar turning informant detonates them. 3 days after the raid, eagle-eyed journalists spotted a subtle but telling shift. Diddy replaced his flamboyant litigator with a soft-spoken ex-federal prosecutor, known in DOJ circles as the deal whisperer. Insiders understood the signal: you're not preparing for war, you're negotiating parole from it. Federal math is brutal. Convictions under trafficking and RICO statutes can stack into triple-digit years, and the government wins 9 cases out of 10. Even billionaires blanch at those odds. When word leaked that Combs had met twice with Strikeforce agents, the second time without counsel for part of the session, seasoned observers drew one conclusion: hip-hop's emperor was ready to sing. Deal etiquette is ruthless. Prosecutors open with "give us crimes bigger than yours," and defendants reply with names, dates, bank wires. Diddy reportedly owns terabytes of party footage, NDAs thicker than studio walls, and a mental Rolodex detailing who supplied what substance to which underage model in which penthouse. Handing over leverage, that incendiary could shave decades off a sentence, but only if it scorches someone even higher on the celebrity food chain. That's where Jay-Z enters the frame. Sources whisper Diddy's first info dump fingered Carter's alleged role in facilitating certain after-parties code for providing transportation venues or talent. It's an allegation, not a verdict, yet it's enough for agents to widen a probe. Suddenly, studios saw subpoenas land in their inboxes. Yacht captains fielded midnight calls. Event planners dug up 2012 guest lists. Hollywood trembled not from evidence revealed, but from the fear of what might surface next. Because in federal chess, every piece is expendable except the king. And Jay-Z, long hailed as hip-hop's Bobby Fischer, now faced a board flipped by the very ally who once toasted his genius. But a rumor is only a rumor until an old accusation crawls out of the early 2000s and inks itself onto a judge's docket. Rewind to September 2000, the night Times Square pulsed neon for the MTV VMAs. Back then, a teenage fan known in court papers only as Jane Doe thought she'd scored the ultimate backstage pass. Her civil filing says the pass became a horror script champagne laced with pills, a locked penthouse bedroom, and two titans of hip-hop who turned a party into trafficking. For almost 25 years, her story fluttered through back channels too explosive, too well-protected, never official. Then New York's Survivors Act cracked open the statute of limitations window, and Doe transformed rumor into record. The lawsuit alleges Combs and Carter assaulted her while a camcorder whirred, then tried to buy silence with a six-figure college fund. Jay-Z's lawyers hit back hard. In a blistering motion, they demanded Doe unmask herself, called the suit extortion, and dared Manhattan's DA to level criminal charges. On television, it looked like confidence. Online, it sounded like power-smothering vulnerability. Either way, the maneuver reignited dormant whispers about Carter's meteoric rise and the hidden costs paid by those orbiting his empire. Here's the nightmare scenario. If Diddy corroborates even a fragment of Doe's timeline, Jay-Z shifts from civil defendant to criminal target. One matching timestamp on a seized hard drive, a blurred face flagged by facial rec software, and the narrative Carter has curated for decades shatters. Investors begin asking silent questions, sponsors draft escape clauses, and young artists wonder if their mentor's shield can still protect their brand. And with the window for cooperation closing fast, every silence now sounds like an admission. If the evidence landscape tilts even a hair, the question won't be whether Jay-Z can defend his legacy, it'll be whether the legacy can survive at all. When attorneys move faster than paparazzi, you know panic has graduated to strategy. 11 days after Joseph Manzaro's Miami lawsuit splashed Jay-Z and Beyoncé across every gossip banner, their names vanished from the paperwork as cleanly as a DJ scratch cutting dead air. Flight manifests, hotel key logs, and a time-stamped Paris photo shoot proved the Carters were continents away that night. The erasure became Exhibit A in Jay-Z's counteroffensive. If one claim collapses this easily, what does that say about the rest? But courtroom victories can double as PR hazards. Spiro's legal team trumpeted vindication, yet social feeds still pulsed with what-ifs. Conspiracy influencers twisted the retraction into new derangement. See proof the elites can rewrite reality. Online deleting names looked less like innocence and more like influence flexed at warp speed. Carter's gamble was simple: win fast, intimidate imitators, keep the docket thin, but it risked converting every dismissed suit into fresh fuel for skeptics. The bigger bluff, forcing anonymity to crumble. By demanding real names, Jay-Z's lawyers bet many plaintiffs would retreat, rather than expose private trauma to global judgment. It's a play ripped from corporate crisis handbooks. Shift the spotlight from the allegation to the accuser's courage threshold. Yet in this social media era, anonymous voices can rally armies without revealing faces. And each defeated plaintiff pushes 3 more to TikTok with stories half redacted but twice as viral. So while the legal scorecard favored the Carters, one lawsuit down the court of public opinion was still wide open, waiting for the next piece of evidence no motion could seal. Rumors of hidden cameras once sounded like urban legend, the sort of late-night studio myth traded over rolling papers. Then federal technicians cracked open the network closet in Diddy's mansion and found drives labeled by year party and allegedly guest initials. Instant terror rippled through Music Row contact lists. Within 48 hours, managers demanded cyber sweeps of their clients' devices. Stylists bulk deleted archived selfies. One streaming giant quietly paused a Diddy documentary in post-production limbo. Why the frenzy? Because leverage footage doesn't care about context. A 2-second clip of a chart topper passing a laced drink, a blurred silhouette in a locked hallway, edited into the wrong montage, and careers implode before lawyers hit send. Prosecutors know this, so does Diddy. That's why insiders say he dangled a catalog of corrupted memories as his get-out-of-jail-earlier card. Not just who was recorded, but who watched others suffer and walked away. Federal agents now sift timestamps against flight logs mapping who could physically appear in each frame. Every confirmed face tightens the noose. Every unidentified figure is a panic attack waiting to happen. And because the drives span decades, no artist feels completely safe. The hip-hop rookie of 2009 is a household brand in 2025. The background producer is now a label CEO. One leak could detonate entire IPOs. And at the center of this digital minefield, Jay-Z's silhouette looms large either as a cameo the world will soon replay, or as a ghost the footage never caught. Sean Carter's ascent has always been framed as chestnut checkers. But critics now ask, what if the board was rigged all along? Old whispers resurface claims he signed hungry artists to lopsided deals, cultivated loyalty with lavish perks, then ghosted them at the first whiff of controversy. It was business, they said, nothing personal. Yet in the glare of Diddy's implosion, business decisions blur into predatory patterns. Consider the timeline. Every major leap in Carter's empire aligned with a quiet distancing from someone else's downfall. Dame Dash froze out during Rockefeller dissolution hour. Kelly jettisoned after the best of both worlds fiasco. Now Diddy's name erased from Carter's public orbit months before the raids. Foresight or inside knowledge, fans debate furiously. Supporters hail Jay-Z as a survival savant. Detractors paint him as a cleanup crew arriving before the first siren. Then there's the grooming narrative. Beyoncé was 19 when the world first paired them. Jay-Z was 31, a business juggernaut. For years, the age gap conversation simmered at low heat. Now it boils. Documentarians splice early interviews highlighting Carter's guiding influence over Destiny's Child's trajectory and Beyoncé's solo pivot. In 2023, that looked like mentorship. In 2025, under trafficking headlines, skeptics call it systemic conditioning. Reality may sit somewhere between hero and villain, but nuance rarely trends. As hashtags swing wildly from #ProtectBlackExcellence to #RockNationRacket Jay-Z faces, a truth no streaming numbers can mute: public goodwill is finite, and every new accusation spends it faster. And the one person who could humanize him with a single statement remains silent behind a wall of diamond-studded calm. Beyoncé's brand is precision. Every visual, every caption, every surprise album lands like a lunar eclipse, rare, immaculate, and universally watched. So when allegations brushed her orbit, fans waited for a formation-level rebuttal. None arrived. Instead, the Queen posted concert stills from Marseille, twirling in chrome armor captions limited to emojis. The Hive spun theories faster than Stan accounts could refresh. Silence can be strategy. By refusing to amplify rumors, Beyoncé avoids legal landmines and denies tabloids the clickbait headline "Beyoncé responds." Yet silence also leaves a vacuum no publicist can police. Into that void pour anonymous insiders claiming she attended freak-offs, innocently saw nothing left early. Others swear she stormed out horrified and threatened to blacklist Combs only to be talked down by Rock Nation advisors. With no statement to anchor the narrative, both tales flourish. Meanwhile, data firms report a measurable slide in her social following, minor compared to her empire, but unprecedented for an artist whose graph usually ascends. Luxury sponsors watch warily. Brand safety teams flag potential content collisions for upcoming ad cycles. Beyoncé may not face charges, but proximity risk alone can dent billion-dollar valuations. Yet make no mistake, if she speaks, the internet will freeze mid-scroll. Her challenge is surgical: address the storm without stepping into its legal undertow. Until then, every mute button fuels speculation that even royalty can't escape the era's demand for moral receipts. And far beyond the Bayhive boardrooms, once insulated by power, start to hear the crackle of something larger than any single career. What began as one mogul's reckoning now feels like a cultural supercell rolling across entertainment. Talent agencies schedule crisis management drills. Studio attorneys pre-draft statements for clients not yet accused. Streaming services audit catalogs for future backlash liabilities. A-listers cancel Hampton soirees, terrified a drone might capture them beside someone indicted next week. Insiders whisper that the DOJ's task force list reads like a festival lineup. Musicians, actors, sports figures who mingled at Diddy's estates from 2003 to 2024. Each subpoena requests guest list, security footage, rideshare data. One resembles familiar script, the Weinstein unraveling. But this cast is bigger, the digital evidence denser, and the social media courtroom infinitely louder. The psychology is brutal guilt isn't prerequisite for brand extinction. In 2025's attention, economy proximity is prosecution. An innocent cameo on the wrong tape can void endorsement deals. Torpedo film releases erase catalog royalties overnight. So celebrities bunker down, delete decades of party photos, and pray the DOJ's next press conference doesn't splice their face into a montage. And still, Diddy's alleged cooperation isn't finished. Sources tease a Phase 2 data dump tied to offshore accountants and private jet manifests. If that lands, the blast radius could swallow entire record labels. Jay-Z, already locked in legal trench warfare, may discover the only safe square left on the chessboard is surrender, or an even bigger revelation that redirects the spotlight again. One thing is certain: the old code of silence is dead. Cameras are everywhere, victims have the Survivors Act, and empires built on NDAs now sit on fault lines. Whether this saga ends in convictions or collapsed careers, Hollywood's mythology of invincibility has already cracked. And the next time a velvet rope party invites the world's elite, you can bet every attendee will glance at the ceilings, wondering who's watching recording and waiting for the encore. Power rarely disappears, it transfers. Whether Diddy's cooperation marks the end of his dynasty or merely the handoff of influence to a new set of architects, one fact is certain: the cameras are already rolling in the courtroom. The transcripts are set in ink and the world has tuned in. So when you scroll past another headline that starts with "shocking new evidence," remember, this legends are built on stories. But once the truth takes the microphone, even legends can't skip the track. The encore is coming, and no amount of platinum plaques can drown out its beat.